Hi and welcome to Let's Get Starting How to Create. I have been finding that starting out with Stampin' Up products when you're brand new and you don't know the products and you're looking through the catalogue. I had my catalogue sitting here a minute ago. You're looking through the catalogue and it's overwhelming, really overwhelming. And you sort of go, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to buy. And I see all these beautiful cards on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and on people's blogs, and I'd love to make them, but I don't know where or how to start doing it. And I must say that different companies have different products. So I'm just talking about Stampin' Up products here today because my name is Teresa Brown. I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator for 17 years and I love the Stampin' Up products. Not only do they work well together, they coordinate together, and I just love the colours that are in the Stampin' Up collection. So without further ado, let's come down and talk about where to start, and I'll share some of the products with you as we go along and how to use them. So without further ado, come down to my little workbench here, and hello if you're new. Don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to also put your name and where you're from, whether you're from Australia or Texas, Canada, England, America, wherever you're from, just say where you're from and put your name. The very first product I would suggest for anyone to purchase when you're starting out is a paper trimmer, because you need to be able to cut your cardstock up to make the card. And our paper trimmer is amazing. It's got centimeters and inches, so you can work whichever way you want. It also has a cutting blade, which is your dark blade, and a score blade. Now, a cutting blade is when it cuts the paper. So let's just put a piece of paper in so that you can see that that just cuts the paper, okay? And then a score blade is when it scores the paper. So it puts a crease line in there for you to be able to fold on, okay? So your cutting blade is to cut your paper off. The score blade is to make that crease line. Okay, now let me just point out a couple of little things about the cutting blade. We have 4 little lines on here, so on your cutting blade. Now that's showing you where the center of the blade is. So the blade is in the center here. So when you're lining up, you can tell you line up this little line here if you're lining up along the edge of your ruler, and you press down and it will start exactly where you want it to start. So if you want it to start on the 7 centimeters, or 7 inches, I should say, because I've got my inch one in, you can just line that up on the 7 inches, press down, and then cut down to 9 inches and then stop. And then you'll only get a cut mark between the 7 and the 9. That's how you line up your blade. The same with your score blade, only this time you'll be making that score line. Okay, you've got the 4 little lines. The little circle in the middle indicates that's where your blade or your score blade or your cutting blade is on your tool. The other thing that I love on this is it's got a little gap up the top here that you can hang this up when you're not using it. So I love that you can hang this up on a hook somewhere. We also have our extension ruler, and it goes right up to 43 centimeters or 17 inches, which is quite a long ruler. Okay, so where does the ruler start from? I get asked this question a lot too. How do you line it up? Well, that's quite simple, because say you want your cardstock to be 7 centimeters, you line your edge of your paper up to the 7 centimeters, which is at the top here, okay? So, and then you put your blade down and you cut, and that will give you a 7 centimeter piece across the top, okay? Say you want to do it at 3 inches, you do exactly the same. You line it up at the 3 inches and then you cut. Okay, so you can cut, your blade is cuttable from both sides. So you can cut down or you can cut up. I love that idea. The same with our score blade. You can score up or you can score down. So you can score down or up. Down or up, you can score. Okay, and that gives you a beautiful score. So the second thing you need, let's cut a base of a card, because that's the first thing you're going to have to learn is the base of a card. And we're going to start with a very standard 2 cards. Okay, or standard, I'll share it with you. Standard cards. Okay, out you come. Okay, so we're going to start with a standard, very standard card. A lot of people like to line it up at either 6 inches or 15 centimetres. But for some reason, I like to line it up at 14.5. And the reason I like to line it up at 14.5, because as you get more experienced and you start adding more to your card, the card front, it makes it easier to go in the envelope. So we're going to cut that at 14.5 centimetres. And you can do inches, you can do 5 3/4. Okay, now you need to know that you've got your 5 and then the next big piece or the next big line is 1/4 and then 1/2 and then the next big line is 3/4. Okay, so learning your ruler is important also, so you know where to line things up at. So you've got 1 and then 1.5 or 1.5 centimetres, 2 or 2.5 or 2.5. Depends on how people talk about their ruler. Okay, so they might say, if you're following someone else, they might say, please cut 14.5, or they might say cut 14.5. So both of them means the next one is the 0.5. So we've cut 14.5 and we're going to turn it around and we're going to score it at 10.5. So we're going to line it up at the 10 and then the 5. So the 0.5, and we're going to score that. So that gives us 2 cards. I'll just do this one as well. So we line this one up at 14.5. And it's good to do this with me. Okay, so do this as you're going. And write your instructions on there if you need to. Okay, make a little template. And score at 10.5. So you can see that gives us 2 cards. So you can have them horizontal or vertical, which is really, really amazing. So the other way, I'm just going to share 2 lots with you on this, and we're going to play with these because this is the very beginning. This is the very beginning, and you'll see a lot of people using these type of cards. So using your A4 sheet of paper, and that's A4 here in Australia, not in other countries. Okay, they're different sizes. So if you're here in Australia, we have our A4 is 21 centimetres across. So being 21 centimetres across, we are going to cut it at 10.5. Okay, so 10.5. Now this is going to give us 2 cards as well. And we're going to line it up at 14.5, the same as before. And we're going to score down. We're going to fold. We're going to fold that card. And then we're going to line this fold line up at the 14.5. And we're going to trim that tiny little bit off. And like I said, this little bit gives you a little bit more leeway as you start building things up on a card. As you get more professional at it, you'll start layering and stuff, and it will give you more room in your envelope to move around. It also gives you the opportunity, if you're going to, say, a bent corner, say it's got a bent corner or a messy corner like this, you can cut that little bit off. Okay, so you can work out your paper to that. And then we're going to do exactly the same with this one. We're going to line it up at 14.5 centimetres, and I'm going to just talk centimetres today. And we're going to score that down. And then you're going to lift up and put the score line on the 14.5, which is the biggest one between the 14 and the 15. And that's your 0.5, and then you're going to cut that bit off. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to varnish, and using a bone folder to get that beautiful score line going across. And you can just mark it with your bone folder. So this is a bone folder. Mine's pretty worn out. I use mine a lot. To clean these, you can just use an alcohol wipe. Usually does a pretty good job, and you want to keep it clean because you're using it on your card. Now the other way you can do this is if you've lost your scorer or something, you can line up your card at the bottom, and then you can just come in and use your bone folder to score it. Okay, so that gives you different styles of cards. So we've got a horizontal card, a vertical card, okay, which was cut out of one sheet. You've got an A-frame card. This time the folder's at the top, and then you've got a horizontal with the fold on the side. So we've got the fold on the top and the fold on the side. And you'll choose which style you like working with, okay? Now I'm going to cut a mat, but I'm just going to do the mat in white. And the reason I'm going to do a mat is because some of our colour images, or I might just do a colour image down here on one sheet of paper for you. I've chosen a really simple little stamp, and it's called the bird's eye view. So we can just do some little images with these to share with you. This is what we call a photopolymer stamp set because it's clear, and I like to, once I get my stamps, I like to bring them in and put them over here. Okay, so you can sort of see, having the images on the other side of your container, you'll be able to tell if there's anything missing. Get rid of that. Okay, so that's the first job that I like to do. Yes, it has been used, but not by me. I lent this one to a friend. So over here, and the leaves, and then we've got the little bird over here, and you can see that all the pieces are there. So the good thing about it is if you're using the stamp set and there's a piece missing, you know to go looking for it straight away. Now you can keep this to do some colouring with as well. You can use this to colour on. So we'll just put that aside for the moment. But this is how your stamp set goes. So you pick out something that you want to use, and let's say we start with, let's just start with the leaves, something very simple for you. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have a little practice run. Before you start making your cards, you're going to have a little practice run, and we're going to use the Memento ink. And we're going to put our, I'm just going to move this up here so you can see. We're going to just press our stamp into the ink and then press our image down. And you don't get a bad image, it's a pretty good image, but if you want to, you can put a mat underneath here as well, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But to start off with, some people, quite easy, just make sure that your ink's nice and wet and that you can put the image down. Now let me just share with you this stamp set. It shows you on the on the stamp set, it shows you it's a set of 11 stamps. It also tells you that the images are only 95% on the front here. And it also gives you the code. Okay, so, and the name of the stamp set. On the back, it shows you how to put your images on if you want the image on the back, but not on the photopolymer ones, just on your cling ones, which is the red rubber, which is like this one, a red rubber. Okay, the photopolymer is see-through, and it is a really good way to start off with. So let's just do some leaves going across here to start off with, or coming down the page. I just want to share some little colouring tips with you and what they are. Now, once you've used your stamp, you need to also have a chamois, and you want to clean your stamp. Okay, the chamois is fantastic. Now, the chamois is kept in a sealed lock bag or in one of our clear containers like this one, which you can purchase in a set of 4. Now, the clear cases are fantastic for lots of things. You can store your dimensions, like your foamies in here. Like you can have one container for them. And I love them because they stand up and you can name on the bottom like dimensions. You can name on the back dimensions. So you can store your things nice and easy on your shelf, okay? So you can have them for lots of different things, okay? Whatever you want to store for. But one, decorate it up, which I have. I've decorated this one up, and I've had this one for years, and I love it. And then you can put your chamois in there. Now with your chamois, don't wet it in hot water. Hot water will make it sweat. Just wash it out in cold water at the end of each day and just pop it back in there ready for the next day. Now I've left this one purposely to show you that it's starting to dry around the edge here. Okay, so when it starts drying like this, you need to wet it. Okay, but if you do it at the end of each day, you won't have this happen. Okay, you'll wash all the old ink out from the day. It will stain like this. Okay, but that's okay, because when you've washed that, that's still clean. It's still going to clean your stamps. After a while, I turn mine over, okay, but make sure that it's nice and wet. So that's your chamois. Now when you're colouring, we have pencils, and our pencils are wet and dry. Okay, so we can do dry, so you can colour with a dry pencil, which dry means straight to the paper, and you can just colour your leaf, like colouring in a colouring book. Oh, and this one's a bit of a blue, but that's okay. We got a blue leaf here. Okay, so this is a dry effect that you get. So you just colour like you would in a colouring book, as you did as a child. Okay, it's not hard to do that. Okay, so let's pick another colour. I'm just picking random colours here, guys, not going for anything in particular, just picking random colours, but I will go for a green this time. Now, the reason I've gone with this green one is because it's a bit on the flat side, and I like to use a metal, not a plastic sharpener. I like to use a metal sharpener on these to sharpen them. And you've got to be a little bit gentle, because when you've been using water on them, they're very soft. So make sure that you don't sharpen them up too hard, because usually you don't want a point, you want a flat point. Okay, so I don't want a really pointy point on this. I just want a flat point so that I can colour nice and flat. Okay, so just come in and colour nice and flat. Now there's a couple of things that you can do with your wet pencil. I'm just going to colour this one in. as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can use your pencils. So let me share with you one of my favourites. One of my favourites is using a Wink of Stella pen. And a Wink of Stella pen, when it comes, it will come with a little black thing in between here that you need to take out, get rid of the little black thing, and then wind it back up. Now the reason you get rid of the little black thing is that then it's going to pierce it for your ink to come out through your brush. Now the Wink of Stella, you can always try on a little bit of paper. You can come down and you'll see that you can actually colour and get a little bit of glitter coming through this one here. Okay, so you can control it with a little bit of glitter. Very nice, soft way to clean your brush. Just rub it backwards and forwards on a Post-it note or on your grid paper. Now the grid paper is one things that I would say everyone needs to purchase it, not only to work on, but it's got the rulers on it for inches and centimetres. So I'm working on the centimetre side. So you can always measure the piece of card. If you can't quite remember which one you've got in your hand, you can measure it, okay, which is really good. So our first step with our Wink of Stella pen is to make sure when you're storing this that you store it upside down like this, and just let the that ink come down to the bottom, and always give it a really good shake. It also has a little button on the side that says press, so when you take that little black seal out of it, you'll need to press this to where it says press. You'll need to press this for it to push the ink down, but don't press too hard. You don't want it to come out in a blob. Okay, you will see it starting to move down. So shake, press, shake, press, shake, press, and it usually comes down, okay, into the brush. Okay, so that's a good thing about your Wink of Stella, and you can use your Wink of Stella with your pencils, and you can use it with your inks, but when you use it on your inks, you might want to use this that we took out of the, let's colour one in with the ink. So we're going to use this bit of paper because you can use this a lot. This came out of the stamp set. So let's come in with a little bit of ink on this one. We're going to use an ink pad this time. We're just going to put some ink on here. And we're going to pick the Wink of Stella up this way. We're going to pick the colour up this way this time. And the reason I'm saying doing it on here so you don't get glitter through your ink pad, you don't want that. So much easier to come in and do it this way. Okay, so really lovely. And you can colour all your images in the same way. We're just doing a little small image just to share with you today. Yeah, so you can just keep going with that, and then clean your pen. Just rub it backwards and forwards on your grid paper, and then you can see that it's nice and clean. Now to clean this, all you need to do is have a wet one or a tissue and wipe this off. Now, I like collecting these out of my stamps because you've got them, if you're a demonstrator, that you can hand them out in class. Okay, I do hear a lot of people say that they use them for shaker cards, but I don't, because they're scratched and I just don't feel that's right, but it's up to you. Okay, so we've done the Wink of Stella with that. Now we've got the next one that we use is our marker. And Stampin' Up markers are like an ink pad in a pen. So they're very similar to an ink pad, but they're in a pen. Okay, you have a fine tip end, and now these are new. So if you've got the old ones, they'll be very different. They also have a grip on the side of it so that you can pull the lid off. So those little dots are grips. It's got a brush end as well. Now you can rub the brush end down here, and you can pick it up the same way as you just did with this one. You can just do it exactly the same. Okay, so we can colour in our leaf exactly the same way as we did with our ink. The good thing about the ink Stampin' Up markers is that the ink dries a little bit quicker, and I've noticed that, but that's okay. You can still huff on it or put some water to it and it will still work. So just by adding the Wink of Stella pen, it still works. Okay, so that's showing you our colouring with the Wink of Stella pen and our marker. So we've done our pencil. The next one we've got to do is, did I do that? I did. I threw my white in the bin. I'm just going to grab that back out because I want to wipe that. Keep that over there. The next thing is our, let me just finish talking about these first. The one thing I want to make very clear about your Stampin' Up markers is to store them horizontal, like this. If you store them upright like this, which I see a lot of people do in a jar, this end will dry out really quick. So make sure they're horizontal. Make sure that they're always laying down in a container or in our storage containers that we have. Okay. The next thing is our blends. Now, our blends are alcohol. Now, when you're using your Stampin' blends, you can't use your Stays On ink to ink out. You need to use what we have used here is the Memento ink. This is alcohol, this is water-based. If you use alcohol on alcohol, which Stays On is alcohol, it will bleed, okay? So once again, you've got grips. This is a new one, so I need to pull it a little bit harder. And you can sort of see you've got your fine pen end and then you've got your brush end, which I really love. So if it's a small area, you might want to use the pen end, but you can also use the brush end. Now with blends, they're called blends for a reason, and I'm not going to go into how to do a lot of blending today because that will take up just far too much time, but I'm just sharing with you how you can colour. Okay, so the other way we can colour is by picking up ink with our water painters. Okay, so we've got our water painters here, and you can actually pick up with water painters. You undo the little funnel. Oh, these always unwind reverse, by the way, too. They unwind towards the right. You fill them up with water, then you screw them back in. Now, once again, this is where this little piece of paper really helps. You could use your blocks if you want to. You can work on your blocks. That's another way you can do it, but we're just going to do it on here. So I'm just going to grab another colour. We're going to grab a darker colour. This is Mossy Mauve, and we're just going to add a little bit on there. Oh, no, Mossy Meadow, I mean. Sorry, Mossy Meadow. Takes me to say the wrong one. Now you will need to press this a little bit and get your water coming down. Can you see you've got a little bit of water now? Over here, you can see. So you can just, excuse me, pat it onto your paper towel or your tissue, pick up your water. Now you're going to have, it's going to be a lot wet, so don't press too hard. And then come down and colour your image. Now this is a little bit different, and you have to be a little bit mindful that this is not watercolour paper, but you can colour on it. But you just got to be a little bit mindful not to have this too over wet, or you'll peel your paper. Okay, so you don't want to peel the paper, so you just want to do it very lightly and let it dry. It gives it a watercolour effect, which I really love. It's a very different effect to the rest. And you can sort of see the different effect that you got there. It's like a watercolour effect. It does bleed out a little bit, so you do have to be a little bit mindful when you're using small images. So your watercolour pens are really great for that as well, for colouring. Now the last one, I'm just going to add some more leaves here. Okay. Our last one is the blenders. I'm going to show you the blenders. Now these are Stampin' Blends, and these are blender pens. Two different things. So you've got your Stampin' Blends, which is your alcohol markers or your alcohol blends, and then you've got your blender pens. These are blender pens. They're ones to help you blend with. Okay. We also have, you have so many different things, but I'm going to start like just doing very basic at the moment. So these are got like a liquid in them. They're acid free, so which is really good. You can use them for any scrapbooking as well. So let's come in with another colour. Let's see what we've got here. I don't want to go red, it's too dark. I want to go pink, I think. Okay, so let's go pink. So we're going to put the colour back down onto here. This is a very light colour. This is the bubble bath one. So what you can do with your blends, and everyone will find all these different tools, you'll find which one you like the best when you start off. And that's the good thing about going to a Stampin' Up party, is to learn how to use each of the products. Okay, so and how to try them before you buy them. I love that idea. Okay, and that's what I used to do at a lot of my parties, was let people try things before they buy them. That's a good thing about a party. Okay, now it's very hard to do that online. You can only do that if you go to a face-to-face party at someone's home, or you host a party and invite your guests over to your home and your demonstrator to your home. Okay, so you can sort of see you picked up, and the same thing. You just wipe it backwards and forwards until it comes nice and clean. Now, they do stain a little bit, these ones, like if you're using reds and blues and that. But the good thing about it is you have got two ends to it. Okay, so that's the main thing. And they come in a set of 3. I've been using one, so it's not in there. It's here on the table. But they come in a set of 3. So fantastic for blending as well. Now you can also use these for your pencils. So I'm going to just share with you the same with the water ones. So we're going to just do a little bit more stamping of some leaves, just to go through a little bit more with you. So press down there, press down there, press down there. And it's good to have a little bit of a play like this. I like to have a little bit of a play like this because it does sort of help. Okay, let's go back to the pencils, and I'm going to get a dark colour. Okay, let's go with a pink or something. And we're going to colour this in. Well, this is red, that's fine. So we're going to colour this in on one side to start off with. And I'm going to turn this around so you can sort of see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to pick up this colour and smooth it out, and then come over and finish colouring the other side. It makes it that little bit lighter. That's the nice thing about blends too. You got that, you can pick it up. Okay, so I'll just do that one more time so you can see what I did. So you just come in and colour one side. And then you smooth it out with your blend. Pick up the colour. You're picking it up and come over and do the other side. Okay, it's still got a little bit on there that you probably can even get a softer leaf out of that one. But if you want to have it a bit darker, just come in and go back over it. Clean your tip, okay, and always roll it around. Don't go down that way, you'll flatten your tip. Always roll it around nice and smooth on your paper that way, and you can sort of see it comes up pretty clean. Okay, so that's really good. I love the blends. Now you can use the blends for the ink as well. Okay, so we use them for, you can't use them on the blender pens, these ones, because these are alcohol based, but that's a whole new game of colouring with these. But you can use them for your markers. Okay, so you can use them for your markers. So you can pick the colour up from here again and just colour in with them. And you don't want to press too hard onto your paper when you're using these blends. You want to do it very softly because it will peel the paper if you do it too hard. If you want to add coats to it, let it dry before you add another coat to it. Okay, so let's build this one up. And you can sort of see you can build it up as much as you want. Just let it dry in between. And you can do in lighter and darker areas, so you can do it darker up the top here and keep it lighter towards the base. Okay, and then you can sort of have it that you're just going to do dark. But just remember to just press very lightly. I'm hardly touching the paper at all. Okay, I'm just very smoothly wiping it across the paper. Okay, so that's how you use your blends. So I get asked a lot about the colouring tools and how to use them. So we're showing you how to use the Wink of Stella pen today, how to use the blends, the pens. These are blender pens. And they come in a set of 3. So you've got 3, so you've got 6 blend pens on here because you've got 1 on either side. Store these horizontal as well so that they don't dry out. Okay, so we've got our Wink of Stella, our blends. Then we have our alcohol stamping blends. So these are our alcohol ones. And I'll go into these ones another day completely because it's so much to share with you. We have our Stampin' Up markers, which are fantastic, and you can use these straight onto your, they'll be very, very dark because they are full-on ink. Okay, so that is full-on ink on that side. Now you can come back, we've put the ink on there, and we can come back with the Stampin' blend on there over the top of that. You can come back over the top of that and just blend it through. Okay, you can just blend that through. You won't be able to move it across. You'll need to do that on your thing, but you'll be able to blend it through. If you want to lighten it down a little bit, you'll be able to blend that. I'll do this side as well. Okay, so you can sort of see it's quite dark when you go just straight onto the leaves. Like this could be a house or a bird or anything that you're colouring in, but we're just doing the leaf because it's little and it just gives you a little bit of an idea on how to use the products. Getting to know how to use the Stampin' Up products is the #1 key to making lovely cards. Okay, so we've got our leaves happening there, and then you've got the brush end as well that you can use. Okay, So you can use either end. Of your Stampin' Up marker to colour in. And that's if you really want a really vivid colour. Okay, you can sort of see that's come out a lot darker than any of the others that are a softer colour. Okay, so that's number one step, is to learn how to stamp your image out. So stamping an image out is grabbing an image from your stamp. This time we'll pop the leaves away. Where did my leaves go? Right here in front of me. And make sure that it's clean. And we're going to stamp an image out. Now we're going to stamp an image out a couple of ways. Okay, so we're just going to pick this little bird down here. We just want some small little images for you. Okay, so let's stamp this out first in Memento ink. So you can stamp him straight out in the Memento ink. Okay, not a problem. Now you can also just stamp him out in the Mossy Meadow or a coloured ink. So we're just going to get the colour ink, just dab it in there and come down. So you can stamp it out in a colour ink. Clean your stamp. I'll put that one up there for the moment. You can also stamp him out with a marker. Now I'm going to come in and share with you the markers here because they're a little bit different you can use. So we're going to come in and do our light colour first, and I always do my light colour first when I'm using my markers. So if I want to do a colouring, I'll do that first. Okay, so this is not quite a solid one. We'll do a solid stamp in a minute. And then we're going to sort of bring this around the outer edge because there's ink in a pen. And then you can sort of add your black in here as well. And our little black feet down here if you want to. Now the trick with this is to huff on it to bring the ink back to the top of the surface. And you can see you've got different colours in there. So he's not a solid stamp. He's quite a outline stamp, what we call an outline stamp. Okay, so let me show you with the Rings of Nature. This has got little solid, more solid in here. So let me share that with you. So let's say we get this little flower here. No, I'm going to do this one because this has got, yeah, I can do flowers and green on there. Okay, so we're going to put our little bird back. Okay, so these are quite cute because these are little solid image. Now let me just stamp this out in black for you to start off with. So this is just a solid image like berries and a branch. Okay, clean your stamp. Now you might want to do it in pink berries and come in and do pink berries like this. And then you might want to use your Stampin' Up marker to come in over the top of your little stems. Okay, so you might want to just draw them in like that. That's entirely up to you on that, how you do that one. But then you might want to use your markers and you might want to do colours on here. So you might want to bring in some dark ones And I like to also sort of touch it up on the side so it's not mottly. I like not straight. I mean, you get that mottly effect, so you can come in and do it however you want to do your colouring. And then the same with this one, just come in and colour it how you'd like to colour it, but I like to do a little bit of mottly effect on mine, just so it's a little bit different. Everyone does it a little bit different, so there's no right or wrong, remember. How you colour it in is entirely up to you. And this is very light green, so I'm going to come in with the black, because we do have black. Just so you can see it a little bit more. And you can come in with your black up the top here. Okay, then don't forget to half and come down. Now you can sort of see, you can stamp just straight out in black. You can stamp straight out using your markers in pink, but then you can also use your markers to get that beautiful mottly effect. It's a little bit different, so you can use your markers in a different sort of way. So I hope those little tips helped you there. Okay, so we've done our Wink Castella, and that you can do with these as well. So when you're using these, you can do that as well. And there's so many ways that you can do colouring in. Okay, so you can just colour in the way you want. So that's our colouring techniques that we're using with either our pencils, our markers, our inks, or our blends. Okay, so say we want to colour this little bird in our blends, we can do that as well. We can colour him in with our blends, and you can use either end. You can use your thick end or your thin end, whichever you want. Okay, and the good thing about this is you can use colours over the top of colours with your Stampin' blends as well, which is really great. I'm just looking to see what colours I've got here. Okay, so now we can do a little bit of brown on here as well. And you can sort of blend those two colours in for this little bird. And you can bring in an orange beak if you want to, and just however you want. So I'm going to come over with a red beak because I've got red here. So I'm going to bring this in as red over the top. And then I'm going to come back with the green. And I'm going to just come over and blend through the two colours. So you can sort of see that you're going to get that beautiful blending colours through there as well. Okay, so you've got that happening. So just, you'll need to have a little practice of your blends, but there is going to be more blending classes coming up, so you can sort of check into them. Okay, so the next step is to pick out what you want, and let's make a card. So we have a card base, which is really good. Then we need to do a mat. Now a mat can be in any colour that you want, but maybe let's just say that we're going to go with our lemon lime twist, because it's a nice bright colour. Let's go with a nice bright colour. Now let's put some of these things into action. So when you do a mat, we know that our card is 14.5 centimetres by 10.5. So our mat is going to be 0.5 down. So it'll be 10 by 14. So we're going to cut our cardstock at 14 first. Okay, so we're going to go at 14. Then we're going to turn it around and cut it at 10. And then 10 again. 10. And I've looked at my cardstock, and this has got a curled up corner, so I know that that's the one that I want to cut that piece off. thin. And that's sometimes because I put a book down on the cardstock or something like that. So once you've done that, you need to cut another piece of white because you need to have, oh, excuse me, I wasn't expecting that. You need to come down 0.5 again. So this time you'll come down at 13.5 and you'll come down at 9.5. So you're coming down that 0.5 each time. Okay, and that goes for all these cards that were cut out. You cut them exactly the same. You need 2 of them, 9.5. Okay, so we're going to do our image or our card on here. So let's try a couple of these things that we've just done and we'll use them with our stamp. And I'm just going to keep this card very plain for you so that you can sort of see how to do this. So the first thing we used was our Memento ink. So we're going to use our Memento ink and we're going to bring in a branch. So we can bring in a branch wherever we want. So we've got the branch coming in there and I've just gone off slightly so it's right off the edge of the paper. We're going to clean this and then we're going to take this off and we're going to place a bird on here. So we've got our little bird that we were using and I'm going to, sorry, that wasn't the one we were using. This was the one we were using. Got our little bird that we were using. And you can stamp out, sorry. Sorry, I've got a bug in the throat. So we can stamp out 3 of these little ones along here or 2. So we've got our 3 little birds on there. So this makes a very simple one. And then we've also got the leaves that we had. So we can use the leaves as well. So you can bring in some leaves and you can bring them in maybe underneath. Bring the leaves in this way. Doesn't matter if it hangs off the page a bit. So we've got one lot there and maybe one up towards the end here. Okay, so you've got some leaves hanging in off the tree, which is nice. Now there's lots of things like you can do masking later on, which is another technique altogether. But, you know, today we're just going to stand with this basic. Like I said, we're just going to go a little bit basic so that you can sort of see how to put this card together. Okay, from this stamp set. Now we use the little berry one as well. So I'm going to actually use my markers on here straight away because I don't want it all black. I want some nice red berries in here. So I'm going to come in and colour these in. I'm just colouring them in first. And then I'm going to come back with my little lines, whichever way you want to do them, just to get that mottly effect. Okay, and you can come back whichever way you want to do that. Then we're going to come in with the black marker. Now, when I first started, I loved colouring with just these markers. I had markers. And, yeah, it's entirely up to you. So we're going to come in with the berries, and they're going to come in there. So we're going to put our little berries in there. Now we're going to colour this in. Excuse me for 1 minute. Who suffers from hay fever? I've got a little bound of hay fever this morning. Okay, now we're going to colour in the leaves, so we can do them however we want, but I'm going to grab that nice little sheet of paper here, and we're going to put down some Granny Apple Green ink on here. This is from our stamp pad, and we're going to use the Wink Stella pen. So we're going to use that, and we're going to colour in our leaves. Okay, over here. So all we're doing now is putting into practice a little bit of what I shared with you to make a card, which is really lovely. Okay. So once again, wipe it backwards and forwards. Now we can use the watercolors, we can use the blend. So I'm going to use a blend this time. I'm just going to come in with our blend, and we're going to have a little bit of green in our bird wings here, and a little bit down the front here. The same with here. The little matching triplets. Not quite, but they are. Okay, so the thing that I like about blends also is that you can use your pencils over the top of them as well. So we've got our little bit of our colour there. So now we're going to come in with some pencil. And I'm just going to grab my pencils here. And I'm sort of thinking I might come in with a yellow on the first bird. So we can come in and do our first bird just as a dry colour if we want to. And bring up some through our wing. And then we're going to come in with an orange, if I can find my orange. It's in here. And we're going to do a little, oh, my orange is broken, so I'm going to sharpen that in a minute. I'll do a red. Oh. Okay, I'm going to do a little red beak on there. So then we're going to do a little blue bird. So we're going to use our pencils, and we've used our pencils with our adding a little bit of blend in there as well. And we're just going to colour this through. Now this time I'm just going to use my blender pen through it as well. So I'm just going to come through, and you'll see how it changes when you bring this through it. It smooths it all out and changes it around a little bit when we're colouring it. Okay, then we're going to add our little red beak. I got that in the wrong spot. Okay, so a little red beak, and then we're going to come in with another colour. We might come in with a little green. Little green birdie is going to be pretty well matched up. Now this time I'm going to pick the colour up from the pencil, just to share with you how you can do that. So you can pick the colour up from your pencil. Okay, and that's why I don't have pencils that are very sharp, because you can pick your colour up from your pencil and colour this way. You'll get a very different effect. Don't go over the same spot too much or it will peel. So just remember, very lightly, you're just touching the paper with it. Okay, but you can get some great shadowing in with that. And the same with the red. You can get this off. Just keep wiping it backwards and forwards until you get it nice and clean. And then you can pick up a little bit of the red for the back. You've got more control over it. And also with this one here, just you can remove that little bit of red from around the beak area. Okay, so now we're going to use a blend, thick end, for our tree branch. When you're colouring it, if you sort of do one colour and let it dry, so I'm just sort of doing towards the top first, letting that dry. Make sure you do have paper underneath. That's a really important thing because your blends and that are something that will go through your cardstock, and you'll want to make sure your table or the surface or your bench or where you're working is actually safe. You can sort of see it comes through, and sometimes it comes through even more if you work on it a lot more. So we're going to come through this way now, and we're going to come up over the top of this and sort of do a bit of blending in, which is going to give it dark and lighter on our tree. Okay, so if you let it dry, you will sort of see that you can blend it through. Okay, so we have our tree done. Now we've got some beautiful words, but this one hasn't got words in it. That's something you've got to be familiar with too. Some stamp sets have words and some don't. Now this is the layering leaves, and this is one of my favourite sayings, is sending hugs. So I'm going to use the sending hugs. Now if you want to brighten this up, you can brighten it up by using your markers. If you want to just use your ink, you can. So let's just go over here for a minute, back onto our paper for our words and our sentiments. So our first thing is that we can just do it in our black ink. Okay, so we can just do it with black. Okay, sending hugs. Clean it. Just put that there. Clean it. And then we're going to do it with the markers. Okay, so we can have go around and follow the words. Always keep your marker nice and flat. Okay, so that it's working on the side of the marker. And then we're going to come in with the green. And we're going to just turn it around this way. And it's pretty light, this green. And we're going to come through on here. Now we're going to huff on it. And then you're going to push it down and you'll have two different colours. I'm just looking for my pad. I'm just going to grab my pad. Where is it? Okay, so this is what we call a piercing mat. That's also in the catalogue. Okay, which you can use when you're using your photopolymer stamps. If your inks are pretty wet, it's not too bad, but if your inks or you're using your markers, you might want to do the pad underneath, because it gives it a little bit more padding. Okay, so I'm just going to do the whole lot. This time. Just make sure that you come through and make sure you've got it on all your pieces, on all your letters. Then don't forget to huff on it and then come down, and it's got a little bit more padding and it comes out a little bit more clearer. Okay, so if it's not coming out really clear, you might want to come through and use your piercing mat underneath it. Now look, if you haven't got a piercing mat to start off with, you can use something like a mouse pad, like computer mouse pad. That sort of gives you a little bit of sponge too. And the reason I say this is because this is a red rubber stamp. This has got padding. This is a photopolymer one, and it's see-through, so it's got no padding. Okay, so this one's got no padding and this one's got padding. So when you actually use the Season's Greetings on this one, I'm just going to take that off for a minute, sending hugs. You don't need this underneath it because it's already got that extra padding in there. Okay, so when you're doing this, it's already got padding. So you can just come down and stamp, and you've got your Season's Greetings, and I had that upside down. Okay, it doesn't matter. The next step is to show you how to put, we've got to finish our card off, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more. Okay, on this particular video, and then we're going to go into a new video. So we're going to be putting sending hugs. And I'm just going to do it all in one colour today. And how do we make sure it's straight on here? I'm sort of thinking that I might use the Beautiful Wild Wheat. And I'm going to come in, and I've got it on my block. And then I'm going to place down and see if it's straight. And it's pretty straight. It could be going downhill just a fraction. Okay, so just make sure you line it up on your, that's pretty straight. Okay, if you feel like it's going down just a fraction, just lift it up, put it on the lines yourself so you can line it up. Okay, so you can line it up that all the letters are going across the lines. Then line your block up with the bottom line of your grid paper, and then press your on there, and it will go on. Now I have got some circles here which we can do it on, or we're going to do it plain, and I'm going to do it plain. Like, then when you want to do this, you can line the block, line your paper up, your card up on your grid paper. Okay, so make sure you've got the top of it on a line, and then you can measure this up on a line as well. Okay, so you can come over and you can line this up to where you want to place it down. And you've got that beautiful sending hugs. Okay, so let's put this on our card and let's make this card together. And just move all this out of the way for a minute, and I'll put it away in a minute. We have different glues. Now, the most common glue that I like to use is my Tombow liquid glue. You have two ends to it, so you've got a wider end and you have a narrow end, which I like using for my card making. So we cut out our card before, so we're going to put this card together. You can just go straight white to white, But remember, we cut out the beautiful Lucky Lime Green or Lemon Lime Twist or whatever it was called. I'm going to look that up again for you in just 1 minute. These are new colours, so I'm trying to get myself familiar with them. I think it's a Lucky Lime Twist. Let me just grab the packet out again so I can have a look. Okay, Lemon Lime Twist. Lemon Lime Twist. Lemon Lime Twist is a beautiful colour, and then we're going to come down with this one over the top. You can see that, make sure that that's dry before you put any glue on it, because otherwise it just won't glue in that spot, especially if you're using your Seal Plus or your Seal on here. I find you've got, for someone who's new, you've got a little bit more room to wiggle this around. As you can see, I can wiggle that around. If you're a new crafter, you've got a little bit more room to wiggle the glue around. If you're using the Seal Plus, it will stick permanently straight away and you won't be able to lift it off. So you won't be able to move it around. Wherever you come down with it is where it's going to stay. Where this one I can sort of move around a little bit. And this is what I would recommend for anyone starting off card making at all, is this one. I very rarely use the Seal or the Seal Plus, mainly on boxes, but yeah, 3D items maybe. So we've got this cute little card that we made through using our samples today. So this is the beginning of our very first lesson today. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about how to use the tools and how to start by making a very basic card and how to cut the cards. Now I'm going to keep the other cards because I will be using them in the next episodes. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to say, if you've made this, congratulations, and it looks back to front because I don't know why that is, but congratulations. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the beginning of how to use some of your products. There's so many products, I can't do it all in one video. But starting out with Stampin' Up products with me, with Teresa Brown, and how to use them. So today we've just gone through a little bit of how to ink up a stamp, how to colour it, the different colouring tools, and how to cut our paper on our paper trimmer, and how to make a very, very simple little card through the bird's eye view stamp set, and the layering leaves we have used for the sentiments. God bless you all, and I'll see you all in the next class. Bye for now.